This message might be a little bit more spiritual in nature. Um, but it's sort of giving the sense of you trying to rack your brain to figure out why certain people like operate the way that you do, and you trying to make sense of certain individuals' behavior. Like it's giving, you know, I don't know. Okay, this is the example. Uh, so people who are like crashing out about people stealing their like snow spots that they plowed or whatever, and like um I saw in particular one person had experienced like someone literally like rubbing like poop on their car after they did that, which um you know and then there's just a sense of like you having this moment, or I don't know, there's just a sense of like having this time where you witness somebody's behavior, or like a collective of individuals' behavior, or like get a glimpse into the way that certain people think. Obviously the internet makes that very easy. But I guess like you have to understand that like some people you will never understand because your souls are literally from different like places. Um like there's different soul origins, and I think the whole thing with what is it? The like burning and destruction of a bunch of sacred texts have really done humanity a disservice or whatever. But you have to think of like, just think of it as, say you're playing a video game. I don't know, I'm thinking of um you know I don't know, like Red Dead or something, right? Which obviously I don't know, I didn't finish Red Dead 2, but there's like this storyline, and I think that it always ends the same way basically, right? And you're always like playing the same character, you know, but there's like, I don't know, millions of different people who are like playing said character. So obviously, this person may want to run around and like make him be a good person, do a bunch of good things, and like or there's, some balance and like duality, obviously, but someone else may literally just like to see the chaos, or, you know what I mean? You have to just understand that everybody's soul is extremely different. I think that it's like, I don't know, I don't want to like say names or like call out like religious denominations, but I just think it's done a lot of damage to where people are under the impression that like every human's like spiritual essence comes from the same source, because that's not the case. And that also doesn't mean that people who do bad stuff are like demonic, because that's stupid too. Sorry. It's just more, there's more balance than that. um you know you just have to, it's more of like an internal thing to where people who look the same on the outside can be very different on the inside, due to, again, like their spiritual nature is just like fundamentally different. Like people hold different energies. Like someone can like be like, if people could be like, I don't know, say there's like triplets, right? Because the whole point is that it doesn't really matter what people look like externally, it's like an internal thing. And like, say these triplets, like one triplet is like a unicorn spirit, and then they like literally act like that, and that's how they move through the world. Okay. And then like one triplet is like a vampiric spirit, and that's just like literally how they move through the world and how they act, right? And then the other one is like, I don't know, like a bird spirit, I don't know. So they'd be like very flighty or whatever. And it's not about zodiac signs or whatever being an air sign. I mean, just like literally the way that they are spiritually wired, and like their spiritual reward system is just different, because things just like work different where they're from. You know? You know how like I don't know. You know how people will travel or whatever, and then you can like tell like, oh, these are the Americans because they act like this. Obviously those are stereotypes, right? And honestly, it's probably like spiritual stereotypes too. But there is like sort of like a way to tell, or like a give, even if it's just an accent, right? But it's something about like certain patterns of behavior are kind of like indicative of different spiritual origin. And again, it has nothing to do with people being demonic, okay? That's like really too simplistic, and like I'm getting that those people aren't necessarily evil because they do really dumb shit, that they justify based on like, oh, an eye for an eye, and I think that that's fair and balanced. And then you see like a bunch of other people who are otherwise, good people who are like, no, I think that that's fair and I understand that too, right? And then, but then other people can be like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I would never even think to do something like that. Yes, that's because spiritually you guys are like from different places. That doesn't mean that they're evil people, you know. And as I have to reiterate, that doesn't mean that they're demonic either. Because, a lot of the times it's people who go around like, I'm not getting into that. But so, if you, sometimes relationships even don't work because the way that you guys like understand or comprehend relationships dynamics to work are fundamentally different. And I guess to get a little extra woo woo, you know, the person that you think you want to spend the rest of your life with, and like think is the important word, right? Because you can, whatever, but like, you know, in the planet that they're from, uh, polyamory may be extremely normalized and common. And so then they come into this vessel, or they like think that they want to be monogamous with you and they try to force themselves to be monogamous with you, but they literally can't. That doesn't mean that they're an evil person who deserves to like suffer for the rest of their life, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do if they were like abusive or something. I don't know. However, yeah, like, oh, I got sidetracked because someone walked by the car. But yeah, so then, they come on Earth and it's more normalized, at least now or whatever, for humans to be monogamous, or people are trying to like convince themselves that that's what they want, even though that may be like spiritually unnatural for them because maybe where they spiritually came from, that's not something that's really a thing. Whereas you may be from a place where, like, you know, everybody is, they mate for life, right? And then so you kind of like come here expecting to immediately like find your person that also wants to mate for life, but you're trying to mate with somebody who is like, you know, that they don't operate like that on a spiritual level. And then they could be trying to like force themselves to operate like that, but they like literally can't, you know. And then if you experience enough people like that, then you think that everybody is like that, and then you could like miss your actual match, right? You know, I'm also getting something about like, I don't know, it's kind of harsh, but like, say if you're a masculine or whatever, and you like deeply, deeply know and feel and like trust and believe or hope or wish that soulmates are real, but you keep encountering people that you know for a fact are not your soulmate, and then so you like end up becoming someone who is like projected as like a player or something like that, and you may have like even inadvertently like hurt people or something like that, or again, just like exhibiting player behavior just because you know that those you can't like you physically can't get emotionally invested in those people because you know that they're not your soulmate, and then you start to believe that like your person isn't real, blah 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 blah. But then, when you actually meet your genuine soulmate or whatever, let's say best case scenario, you meet your soulmate and then you actually like recognize them as that, and they recognize you, and then you like get your shit together, and then you like click with them, and you just like never exhibit any of the behavior that you used to in the past, like ever again, because your like soul recognizes like, oh, this is the person I've been waiting for, so I can like leave all that casual behavior in the past because it's not necessary anymore. And then people will be like, oh, he switched up, this is so unlike him, why is he being like this is so weird, why couldn't he just be like this before? And it's just like hard to explain because you know deep down that like, you know especially it's hard with the human ego, right? It's hard with the human ego. It's hard to like be in a relationship with somebody, you know, because out of all the options available, they are the best person available, but you know that they're not your soulmate, but you can't tell that to somebody that you're in a long-term relationship with. You just can't say that to them, right? But then, because sometimes the alternative is being like alone, which a lot of people can't deal with, or just like it's good. You know what I mean? It's just like messy, right? But I'm just getting that a lot of the things that are going on to sort of like explain or make sense of behavior, especially that can't be explained in a rational way, is it does have to do with like spiritual things. And I think that like for as long as people deny that that is a factor at all, then there's going to like continue to be a lot of confusion. Because sometimes you just need to accept that things are the way like some people are the way that they are, at least for the time being, because of something like spiritual or whatever.